Good morning.
Morning.
Look at who graced us with his
Good
presence
morning.
today, Adrian.
Woohoo.
Again. Oh my gosh. Is it Christmas already?
All right.
So a lot to talk about here, but let's just get through some regular Scrum stuff first. Let me also send out a couple of invites because I actually need some people to show up today. Don't see Ashutosh. We got JP. Today's Wednesday, so we're not getting him. Wasim said he would show up. We got Sangeet with a good mic. Heck yeah. I don't really think we need Kerman, but he is online, so let's see if he wants to say hey. Haven't talked to him in a while. So this is working fine and dandy. That's great. Oh, my camera is actually working on both at the same time. Okay. So there's no we're not getting, and this light in the background does not help what I'm doing. Also, the fact that my camera for my desktop is terrible does not help. But we're at least demonstrating the tracking of the square currently. It works really well on my iPhone. But on Android, on cameras that just aren't as great, and this being a dark room, for all intents and purposes, we're doing well. We're doing much better than we were before. Wasim got that all fixed up from before. Okay, so Ernest, what's your update for the day? What'd you do yesterday, and what are you doing today? So you had a few pushes.
Yeah, so yesterday I tried to complete welcome model and delete account stuff with Adrian and JP. Also, I tried to work on save transaction details, but there was an issue. So I recorded video and sent it to Adrian to check. I think this issue caused it because there is unmerged pull request from Chris. In this case, you can assign me new task. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Did you see that? Did you have a chance to see that video, Adrian, that Ernest is talking about?
Yeah. I'll check it out.
Okay. JP, how about you? What's your update today?
So I did some pull requests yesterday and continue working on the update card function.
Got it. And what function is that?
The update card here.
Update card. Got it. And Sangeet, what's your update for the day? Did we not get to Maxim?
Yeah. What?
We didn't get Maxims merged.
No, actually, I think there's a lot of PRs. Actually, I think Adrian takes I mean, there are at least 20 PRs there, right? I guess. Is it Adrian?
There's several that had some.
Yeah.
Before I left, there's several that had conflicts on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's not a problem. So what I've done is that actually send OTP and just two-factor authentication. So I'll create a PR by end of the day. So I do have some testing remaining.
Okay, so was save later key pushed?
It's pushed, but it's not like I didn't created a PR for that. Actually, I created a PR, but I just moved it as a draft.
Okay. I guess we'll just keep on saying it as in progress. That's a
Mhm.
special case. So we're gonna work on send OTP today.
Yeah, both of them, like the first one and second one, like the 2FA login verify OTP.
Got it. Okay. And Jomar, what's your update from yesterday, and what are you doing today?
Yesterday, I wrapped up Get Code and started with remove card. And for later, I'll continue with remove card. And I also have some questions about remove card. When where would we remove cards from the front end?
On the front end. Oh, yeah, well, on the front end that we currently have, it's this remove payment method. I guess that's what is meant by remove card. Is remove your payment method card. And then that would be removed from this section right here.
Okay, I'll check on it.
Okay. Malika, how about you? What'd you do yesterday and what are you doing today?
Hi, Gary. I couldn't attend the meeting yesterday because I have a class and I was in the rush of it. And yeah, yesterday I was trying to solve some issues, and today maybe most of the thing I'll push it into the GitHub, and yeah, I'll do that.
Understood. Okay. And Ashutosh, your update for today. Even if it's
I've worked
Arch stuff.
for Arch. I've worked on fixing the rotation issue. I'll finish my changes and push them today by when just after I come in. And with regard to the document for best practices, I'm still working on that. I'll be spending half an hour, as I mentioned, yes, every day to finish that by 15th. Most likely, it'll be ready to share with the team by tomorrow morning Scrum, and then we can add updates onto it.
Understood. Okay. And Kerman, any updates on your side?
Yeah, like this Monday, I think I created a pipeline for database, and it's running fine for now. And that's it for nowadays. I'm not doing very well. Yeah, that's it.
All right. We love pipelines. That's great.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm going to, and Manan, any updates on its back end or anything that you worked on? Okay. Manan's on Arch duty with Ashutosh as well right now. And we got the server taken care of. So I'm going to share this YouTube video in the TernKey channel real quick. Please give that a watch. It's just a great this is a great quick like 3 reminders of how to write more comprehensible code. And this next video is is another one of like the 6. The first one is 3 different ways, and the next one is 6 really important habits of just like working in a team kind of stuff. And we got to really drill this through, because going forward, we're going to get really specific about, when you code on your own, code however you want. But when we code on these projects, we do have to follow a rule book so that we are programming like one programmer kind of thing. And one important thing that this guy points out in this video is he says, your naming conventions and choosing what you do isn't that like crazy important. Just make sure you just reference documentation that you are referring to. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel with naming conventions, or reinvent the wheel with patterning and how we make our patterns, but we just have to reference like, these are the guidelines we're using. It's as simple as that. So when you program and you're following those guidelines, the next person coming in doesn't have to ask you questions. They just see, oh, they followed these guidelines. Okay, so when I make one of these, I just follow this documentation that already exists. So that makes everybody's life much easier. Referencing a lot of current documentation for these conventions and structures and guidelines. But then past that, Ashutosh had a great addition to what we should have, and more of a, call it, intimate description of how our folder structure, how our front end and back end operates. And this gets down to the nitty gritty of specific examples inside of the code. Like, we're actually explaining how to fix it. In future releases, people will understand how to maintain the code in the correct way. Like, this is a great example. Ashutosh took a screenshot, he drew a red square, he starts describing exactly how to deal with these submodules. So this is the kind of coding guidelines that are very specific to our application. But past that, we need to have ways of referencing naming convention, style guides, design, that we're just referencing as, this is what we use. Just like how you say on GitHub, we use the MIT license. It's something that's already there. It covers all the bases, boilerplate. So we just say that's our guideline kind of thing. So I also wanted to pull everything together to make it so that it's less confusing. And one idea I had is, all right, let's redesign the whole UI. But then that we got into like, what do we do with the repositories? Do we push them together? And then if we push them together, wouldn't that create a bunch of problems? And Kerman's pipelines wouldn't be able to do anything, and all this crazy stuff. So we're like, okay, what we'll do is, at least on Figma, it will make more sense. This whole thing right here is your login. This whole thing is the website with TernKey included. And this whole thing is built on one branch on the website repository. So you have your login, you have your profile, your profile settings, billing, a little about page. This is the product page for TernKey. This is the little product page that is on the website only. And then this whole thing is the actual application of TernKey, which is inside of the TernKey repository. So the website will be calling the repository just as it is now. But to avoid a mess, we have to keep it like this. And then Arch is actually baked into the website because it is such a simple UI. There's not much going on. And then we have contact and our policies, because Arch is all contained within these frames. And then this is just login and payment stuff. So that's why it hurts a little bit to answer Jomar's question, because I have to go back here and I had to show him technically dead frames. This frame is technically dead because you won't be able to access any of these that have been merged into the website from TernKey. So it's important that we understand what this new version, streamlined version of TernKey is. And this blue box and this orange box are all of the frames that were kept by TernKey that are here, and that's what shows up here. You see, we don't have a lot of white because except for the free trial, because the billing was moved into the website for a more streamlined approach so that you can choose between your Arch subscription and your TernKey subscription, and you can get a consolidation of all of your subscription invoice history. And here is where you have the remove payment method, which is the exact same looking thing. So when it comes to these integrations and everything, it's going to be chopping away frames of TernKey and rerouting the integrations so that they feed into the website. So this is the leap we're taking. The two leaps we're taking is rerouting and overhauling the documentation, the structure, the conventions, the guidelines that we're using on the back end. So that was a mouthful. But I feel like I got everything out there to everybody. And I mean, what do you feel like is the best way to approach this? Like, Adrian, do you have any ideas of how, we feel we should get the ball rolling with this new outline of work?
I just saw it, so I don't really have much opinions on that. I wrote some notes on the documentation yesterday that I'll share with Ashutosh and stuff. But for migration of the projects into turning into one repository.
Oh no, we can't. We thought about that for a hot second, but that was stuffed. We can't push them into one repo. They'll be separate repos.
Oh, I meant just the migration in general of the routing. I think we just have to be very careful about it, because there's certain, it's already very well connected, so things could definitely break down or crash because of the movement. Like literally little movements could make it break down. But if we take it really slowly, I think we can do it for sure.
Yeah, we can take this slow where we basically just have TernKey off for the time being, kind of thing, and moving it so that, I mean, for one of these, the add alternative payment method and the edit payment method details, they didn't even change. They're the exact same frame, but they show up on the website now. That's the difference. So
it's just really being copy and paste.
Yes, it's got it. So the good news is that we did all these integrations, so we know what to expect when we're building them, but we do have to move them. Their physical location they actually have to transcend. They have to move from the TernKey repository. Wait, are all the integrations in the TernKey repo or the TernKey database repo?
Most of the integration in the front end. There's some modifications, minor modifications that have been done in the back end just so that it matches, but most everything is just basically the front end reaching out to the back end.
Okay. Well, yeah, one of the things I feel we have to figure out first is what to cut, because there's a good amount, or how to cut, because there's a good amount that is cut out. And I feel like the sooner that we just trim the fat off of TernKey, the easier it will be to handle. So all of these frames, all of their mechanisms and their back end, the logic is inside and taken care of by the website. And if it's taken care of by the website, that means that it is being taken care of by the global profile of the user, the turn profile login of the user, not because there's no such thing as an Arch login. There's no such thing as a TernKey login. It's your Turn account. Logging in with your Turn account lets you, logging in with your Facebook account lets you use Meta, kind of like that, where they are separate things, but it is a global profile that absorbed all of these 2FA, a lot of profile settings, and like contact information, offboarding your account, deleting your account, payment information, and even your plan information, kind of thing. And in this way, when you're in TernKey, you're only focused on using TernKey. You're not focused on managing your account as well. That can be done through the website. So when it comes to like how to, I guess the first thing we can do is, I suppose, edit these frames. First, provide the edits, the necessary edits, then delete the front end UI. But when we delete this front end UI, we have to reroute before we move on to deleting the next UI and then rerouting that. Just wrapping my head about, and Adrian, I feel like this is something that you and I will probably have to deliberate on the best approach, and anyone else who feels like they have good ideas, but you know, how to make this transition. So we won't get too deep into the weeds on exactly what we're going to do, but we will have a discussion outside of this meeting to get to a final decision on that. I just wanted everyone to be aware that that's going to be what occurs. We're going to have to do some editing. We decided to go the editing route and not complete redo, mostly because of how the repositories are set up. And when it comes to how we are going to do the back end, how we're going to define the rules and the guidelines for the back end, we are going to have, well, I'd like to fill this up with everything people think is a best practice that we should keep in mind. So, I mean, Adrian, to this list, what do you have to add to this list? I think you said you wrote some things down, or
Yeah, I can write a bunch of stuff down on there.
yeah, I can just share this with you guys as well.
Yeah, like breakpoints, tailwind first, error handling. We have a bunch of like error handling that needs to be handled. Like if you didn't put, if you put the wrong password in and nothing is being said, the user's not going to know if they put the right, password or not, or the wrong password.
I want to add something to that. Yep. No,
Also,
continue.
wait, hold on, Sangeet, before you go. And then like images should have no spaces in between their names. Secrets have to be on env files. And then console logs and comments, if you're done with them, get them out.
Yeah, house cleaning. House cleaning's important along the way.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sangeet, sorry.
Yeah, one thing that I need to add is that actually one thing that Adrian mentioned is that at many places we are not giving any kind of feedbacks for the user, whether for example, in the case of login, we are not saying that whether he's logged in or not, or just if there is an invalid credentials or something like that. So we are not giving any kind of feedbacks to the users. Like at many places in the sense, in most of the places I didn't see that. So we need to have a thorough testing on that. So at what places actually all these issues are there, and we need to note it down on a user perspective actually.
You mean like a little notification?
Like a toaster.
Yeah, exactly, like a toaster or something like even the, for example, in the
Yeah,
create password.
like this.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So in this, on the website version, we are going to start using these toasters much more often. That we're going to get rid of a lot of modals because of it. And these are going to be timed toasters so that they go away in 3 seconds, or you have the option to click X, and they also will never show over top of a button. Because the current version of TernKey has so many modals that the user is going to have trouble using the freaking app because there's so many modals showing up all the time that they have to exit to use the application. So yeah, we're just going to make these wherever we feel necessary. So these are super easy to just plug in all the time. This is going to be a super reusable component.
Right. I
that's-
also wanted to say, like, yeah, a lot of the developers are also using alerts instead of the toasters, and alerts are very what do you call it? It's default, right? So it seems like it's a project website as opposed to a very well designed website, because the alert that comes with the browser is very it's not goes with the design of the website or the turnkey. So instead of using alerts, we should use toasters that are designed to have the same color background, the same font, the same buttons, even if you know.
Yep, glad we're on the same page about that. Definitely some thought into that and what we're gonna do going forward. What okay. Ashutosh is saying things. Um, yeah, so please feel free to please add to this. This is like the list right here I'm making, and then off to the side is just like, so this is practices, just like just roughly putting down everything that we want to do. We said Redux is hard to implement. I know Redux is like a hard one. How many people use the automatic code formatting where when you save your code, I think Prettier is a plugin some people use.
I have it.
You like using it? Like you
I have
it religiously?
Yes, I have.
It does the indentation for you. It does a bunch of things that are very like makes it easier for the developer. I'm assuming everybody has it, though. I should have mentioned that before, but this I feel like everybody uses it, right? Show of hands.
I use it.
I know what it is. I know there's different plugins though, so I mean, if we are going to use a plugin on the project, we should be using the same one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, who knows? Like, it could be splitting your indentations, and your tabs could be different, and it would just be a mess.
We should make a note though. Prettier does Prettier does make you modify some stuff. So certain things like double quotes or quotes, we should make sure that we all do the same thing, right? Do we prefer single quotes or double quotes, or when do we use single quotes?
What would that even fall under as? That's not naming convention. That is like structure, style guide.
Yeah, best practices too, like a style guide. It just everybody has to be on the same page about it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that finding out the exact names of these are going to help me find the existing documentation that already is like, the the gorilla model. I don't know, whatever these people have, there's a million different names of like this kind of thing, like an agile workflow, Scrum, this and that. Same thing with development best practices to follow. So I want to find a couple of documents that we can just implement and just say like, yep, that's a good way to do structures. Let's follow this documentation for all of our structures.
No,
So if
this
you
is
guys,
actually one suggestion. Like, definitely we need the best practices, but don't make us too strength. I mean, don't strengthen. Like, for example, we need some kind of flexibility. For example, like regarding this single quote, double quotes, which doesn't make any kind of big difference over there. So we need some kind of flexibility for the developers, because what the problem is that if you implement too many documentation, or just if you add a documentation of page of just 15 or 20 pages, the developer will not be like, the most of the time of the developers will be just reading this documentation.
Oh, I was thinking more about repository ways, because like it's the documenting in the repository that you've made changes to your let's just an example, right? If you made changes to your branch and you had double quotes and I had single quotes first, GitHub documents that. So it has to be like, oh, so then we're just basically erasing each other's like changes when it's not even really a change.
Yeah, that I got the point, but what I'm saying is that actually implementing too much best practices will actually kill the time, actually, time of the developers. As Gary just mentioned, like we will be like you have mentioned yesterday, right? Most of the time of the developers actually just scrolling on the tabs actually, and just switching the tabs and just scrolling on the page. So which is actually, there is a chance that it can consume the developer's time actually. So right now, what our major advantage is actually not sticking to the best practices. It's actually just pushing the product to the market. So the developers we need definitely
well, as
some
long
kind
as we can have, I mean, this is why I'm writing them all down, because then from here we can get rid of the ones we don't need. As long as we have an idea of all the ones that are at our disposal, we can decide. Because I'm sure there's a couple Adrians forgetting about and Ashutosh aren't thinking of that Sangeet you or Manan might bring up, and they'd be like, oh yeah, that's right, that is a really important one to have. And same vice versa. So I want to make sure we get as much out there on the table as possible, and then we can deliberate onto, and then we can start seeing what our guideline starts to look at like, and going forward there. So I'd like to have wrap up integrations and whatnot, and start getting an idea of how we are going to transition to the slimmed down TernKey, the website version, and by Tuesday evening, having our best practices defined and start going. I feel like that's an appropriate timeline.
Yeah, we can.
So I'll pretty this up so it's easier to understand what we're looking at here. But please just use this row of best practices just to throw in anything and everything you can think of, toasters, other things we should use, certain kind of API techniques, how we should treat modules, how we're going to take care of components, how we're going to organize all of these files so that they're easy to access. And then also look for existing documentation that you can find that you feel like, hey, we should just reference this for all naming conventions. Shouldn't even talk about our own conventions. Just follow this guide. And same for style guide. Like, don't even try to make our own up. Let's just follow what these guys did. Theirs is pretty good. Stuff like that. And another thing is we're going to have one unified database eventually. There's not going to be a TernKey database. There's not going to be an Arch database, and there's never going to be a website database. It's all just going to be one big database that we pull from the Firebase. So that will happen in the future. And as far as this documentation, the more specific one, it's going to end up showing here is the APIs, the front end of TernKey, the website, Turn, the compiler and assembler, Arch, how the servers and subdomains work, and Firebase. Just basically a giant document that makes it so anybody who wants to work with us, a new software developer, would have no problem understanding basically everything, to the point where they're not even asking too many questions to other developers. And so how destructive would a front end redesign be of TernKey if Maxim slowly went in and redesigned each frame? What would that do? Because one of the benefits is that Maxim is really good at responsiveness, so he could make it so all of the TernKey frames are responding and functioning much better. But I'm afraid that it would hurt a lot of the endpoints that have been set up, or is that kind of easy to avoid? I don't know.
I would assume it's like it will be an ongoing thing, because while Maxim is working on all of this, we would also need to push out changes with throughout the team. So it will mostly be similar to the problem that we are facing right now with regard to individual developer writing styles.
Okay, so we'll just go slow and steady on fixing the responsiveness. We won't do an overhaul with the UI UX. But we will plan on having Muhammad and Malika be on pixel perfecting duty, following behind Maxim and cleaning up the stuff that he shouldn't be wasting his time cleaning up while he does the whole frames. And Gautam and JP will be on QA in every capacity, front end, back end integrations, and everyone else will be on the back end maintenance and eventually adding new features. So that's a wrap, folks. Okay. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
No,
Are you
just
sure?
just one note.
Okay, here
What
we go.
Sangeet is absolutely essential and crucial, that we should probably follow best practices on a general, and on a large scale, instead of drilling down and trying to follow best practices on each and every line of code, because that's just going to create more merge conflicts, like what Adrian said, and essentially overwriting each other's code, and it's going to. So right now, the document that I am working on is more in support of creating general holistic best practice guide.
Ashutosh, are you spinning in a circle?
No, I'm in a.
Is your mic like in the center of the room and you're spinning in a circle? Like why is it so in and out like that?
I'm still at the
Okay.
laundromat. I'm just getting it done and leaving for home.
So is your phone in the laundry machine?
It's not. There's
Okay.
there's background noise over here, so I have noise cancelling on, and this is what it makes it do.
Okay. Well, Apple is falling behind. I'd sell your stock. So the thing that you just sent, this guideline for writing JavaScript. Okay, I threw that in here. This is in here now. That's good. This is like the kind of, it's a style guide. All right.
Yeah, this is for minutiae. So if anyone is confused about how to approach simple stuff, this is the best way to go, because this is actually the most commonly adopted guideline throughout the world, web application.
Yeah, one thing this guy says that I love is he keeps on saying, if you decide to do a change like this, if you decide to do that, write a wiki, write a small document. It's all like about like please watch the two videos that were sent in TernKey, because they should help spark more ideas to help add to this big time. This is what reminded me about the Prettier plugin and a couple other things here. So definitely give those a watch to inspire you to add more to this. And we'll come back to this. We'll come back in bits and chunks and really build on this with Tuesday evening as the due date for having some enough out there to get going. And we can perfect Ashutoshi's coding guidelines for all of Tern the more and more we get into stuff. But all right, fellas. Anything else from anyone? No? Okay. I'm not going to say bye and then someone's going to say something. Ernest, what do you got for us? A thumbs up. I love it. All right, guys, that's Scrum. Talk to you later. Bye.